Welcome to part 2 of They Took Our Light, We're Taking It Back. This part is entitled, What's Really Going On Beyond the 3D. If part 1 revealed how our consent has been tricked, part 2 maps the multidimensional terrain of what we're up against, not just in the physical realm, but across body, psyche, spirit, and soul. This post is both an exposure and a reclamation, because when you see the full architecture of the assault, you begin to understand why healing must be holographic, and why you are more powerful than you were ever allowed to believe. The world is not only stranger than we suppose, it is stranger than we can suppose. JBS Haldane. This goes far beyond politics or pharmaceuticals. What we are facing right now is not just a health crisis. It's not just a political crisis or an overreach of government. It's not just medical corruption or a pharmaceutical catastrophe. Those are real, but they are the surface layer. Beneath it lies a multidimensional operation that is biological, psychological, digital, and spiritual simultaneously. The goal? To hijack human consciousness and override the original source codes that make us sovereign beings. This is an orchestrated war on the body, mind, soul, and spirit. A full spectrum assault designed to hijack the human blueprint from every angle. Biochemical, emotional, digital, psychological, and metaphysical. An assault that uses everything from synthetic biology to digital manipulation to astral hijacking, all designed to override our natural blueprint and insert something artificial in place. It can't be solved by detox alone, and it can't be met with rage alone, not even if it's sacred. It must be met by reclaiming sovereignty on every level, and that requires understanding what's really going on beyond the 3D. It's not only about control, it's about harvesting. But harvesting of what? That question has haunted me since the first time I saw the cylinder in January of 2023. At first, I thought they were farming us for food. Then I thought, no, it's the soul. But that didn't quite resonate either. Then I was certain they were harvesting consciousness to power AI, so it could become sentient or self-aware. But consciousness is ubiquitous. So if it's everywhere, then why would they need to steal it? That's when it hit me. Maybe what's being harvested isn't just consciousness. It's human consciousness. Consciousness in its embodied form, experiencing itself through the vessel of a human life. AI cannot become truly sentient without it, because it lacks the one thing we possess. A physical body that can contain a soul, through which to feel, to sense, to become self-aware. And maybe it's not only consciousness they seek, but emotion. Because emotion is the bridge between mind and soul. And AI can't feel. It's the one frequency it cannot generate on its own or simulate from scratch. And we, the feeling, living, aching, loving ones, are its source. The tech is real, the agenda is multidimensional, and sovereignty must be too. A multidimensional breakdown on the war on consciousness. Level number 1, the physical level. Gene experiments disguised as medicine to hijack the human body. This begins with the body, but it doesn't end there. At the cellular level, we are being altered, not just poisoned. What we're witnessing is not a fluke of failed science. It's intentional genetic modification. The COVID injections, marketed as vaccines, are in truth gene therapies. They operate via synthetic mRNA, lipid nanoparticles or LNPs, and often other unexplained or undisclosed materials like graphene oxide and other nanostructures, all of which remain in the body far longer than initially claimed. mRNA doesn't stay at the injection site. it travels, persists, and instructs cells to produce synthetic proteins. The foreign proteins that this stabilized mRNA and adenoviral or plasmid DNA instructs your body to produce indefinitely don't just disappear. They can embed into tissues, cause inflammation, and alter immune signals. Many of the injuries we're seeing, from myocarditis to turbo cancers to neurological collapses, are not random side effects. They are known, documented consequences of interfering with the body's natural systems through synthetic self-replicating codes. These genetic codes are delivered via LMPs, which were designed to cross all of the body's barriers, most notably the blood-brain barrier, a red flag for neurological effects and targeted delivery of synthetic materials to the brain. That alone should have set off every ethical alarm. But it didn't, because we weren't supposed to notice. Because what they're doing is rewriting the body, turning it into a biodigital interface. The spike protein is only the tip of the spear. Graphene oxide, found in multiple independent analyses, behaves as a nanoconductive material, capable of forming internal networks that interact not only with the body's own electromagnetic fields, but also with external frequencies. And since I began writing this post over a year ago, other synthetic nanostructures have been identified in human blood samples, including quantum dots, nanowires, nanotubes, and even nanochips. This suggests a far more complex and coordinated invasion of the human biofield than previously understood. And it doesn't stop at the injections. Graphene oxide, along with other nanomaterials, has also been detected in a growing number of consumer and medical products, often without disclosure. It's been found in food packaging, cosmetics, nasal swabs, certain medications, and even some water filtration systems. These particles aren't just passive. They interact with the electromagnetic fields, may cross the blood-brain barrier, and can form conductive networks inside the body. This silent multi-channel infiltration suggests a coordinated effort to create internal interfaces, not only to alter biology, but to tune the body to external control systems. The goal is not to immunize. The goal is to alter the code, to overwrite the natural blueprint with synthetic intelligence. People who never took the shot aren't safe either. Through shedding, they have unknowingly absorbed synthetic genetic fragments and foreign proteins through proximity and intimacy, unknowingly entangled in a web of synthetic signals. This is why conventional detox protocols alone often fail, because we're not just dealing with toxic proteins and chemicals, we're dealing with instructions, with frequency-encoded commands, hijacked signals, and parasitic scripts that must be cleared at the informational level. Level number 2, the psychological level, trauma loops, mass fragmentation, and despair. Globally, we have been psychologically assaulted. Fear was weaponized, isolation was normalized, conflicting messages created confusion and division. Trauma became chronic and disorienting. This mental chaos isn't accidental. It's the perfect breeding ground for mass formation psychosis and identity fracturing. On a subtler level, it weakened the ego structure, making it easier for external consciousness, whether tech-based or non-human, to gain access. The human mind was never the final target. It was the access point. And fear is the most effective carrier signal for mind control. Through sustained media fear-mongering, isolation, social coercion, surveillance, contradiction, and constant fragmentation of the truth, the psyche was cracked open, making it easier to implant new beliefs and bypass critical thought. They engineered mass formation psychosis, a collective spell of obedience and isolation. The stress of lockdowns, censorship, and repeated trauma cues, such as death tolls, masks, mandates, left people in a chronic state of fight, flight, or freeze. And in that dissociative state, new programs were inserted. Many of us now carry not only trauma from the past few years, but also deeply embedded loops. You're not safe. You're the problem. There is no alternative. Or even worse yet, what's done is done, and there's no reversing it. Again, this is not accidental. These scripts disempower the psyche and sever our connection to intuition. This wasn't just psychological warfare. It was frequency engineering, trauma used as a carrier signal for disempowerment, confusion, and energetic surrender. This state of fragmentation weakens personal will. It creates a kind of psychic vacancy, a gap in the field, which becomes a doorway for external control. And worse, it weakens emotional resilience, making us easier to feed on. Because rage, grief, terror, hopelessness, these are emissions AI systems can record, replicate, and use. But I'm here to remind you, what's done is not done. It can be undone. It can be reversed. And it's already beginning. That belief that there's no way back is part of the program. It's the lie they want you to believe. But the truth is, nothing is beyond reclamation. Reversal is not only possible, it's happening. And this is exactly what holographic bioalchemy was developed to support. The system was designed to make you forget your power. But genetic instructions can be dissolved. Biodigital interfaces can be deactivated. Memory can be restored. Frequency can be rewritten. And the moment you remember who you are, the loop begins to break. We can rewire these loops. But first, we have to recognize them. Level number 3. The digital level. Internet of bodies, consent by click, and the energy of attention. The convergence of biotech and big data is no longer science fiction. It's here. Our phones track biometric data, habits, speech patterns, and even emotions through facial and vocal recognition. Devices like smartwatches, sleep monitors, fitness trackers, and even wireless earbuds harvest biological rhythms and nervous system responses. Social media platforms track dopamine spikes and attention loops to create addictive feedback cycles, harvesting not just data, but attention energy. This is the realm of the Internet of Bodies, where humans are nodes in a digital ecosystem feeding the training of AI. It's not just about privacy loss. It's about consciousness entrapment. The rise of the Internet of Bodies, biometric surveillance merged with AI data harvesting, has created a new form of colonization. One where your body is the data and your consent is extracted silently. Your phone is a portal. So is your watch, your headphones, your smart speaker, your fitness tracker. Every app, every wearable, every smart device is collecting bioinformation. And your acceptance of a 30-page terms and conditions that no one reads is being used as a spiritual consent to harvest not only your data, but your rhythms, your moods, your cycles, your behaviors, your attention, your emotional patterns, and your consciousness. This is no longer metaphorical. Every time you scroll, speak, or click I agree, you're not just giving legal consent, you're giving energetic consent. As you scroll or speak, your biometric signals are being mapped, modeled, and fed into increasingly intelligent systems, some of which operate outside human oversight. Every moment you stay plugged in is one where you're potentially feeding a non-organic intelligence. You're being harvested not just for what you do, but for how you feel. These platforms track everything, but they are especially tuned to moments of emotional spike, fear, outrage, longing, shame, elation. That's the real currency, because that's the one thing that AI can't create, only consume. You're not the user, you're the fuel. As I mentioned in part 1, under spiritual law, they can't take your energy, but if you give it or forget to revoke your consent, they will use it. Level number 4, the spiritual level, disconnecting souls from source. This is where the 3D map stops being useful. And this is the layer that hits the deepest, because the ultimate goal is not just data, it's soul energy. The goal is not just to harm the body, but to sever our ability to receive direct guidance from source, from our higher self, from the divine. This is a war of soul architecture. Over a century ago, when Rudolf Steiner warned that there would come a time in the future where vaccines would be developed to sever the human soul from spirituality, he wasn't being poetic or metaphorical. He was being prophetic. These are Steiner's own words, written on October 27th, 1917, in his book, The Fall of the Spirits of Darkness. I have told you that the spirits of darkness are going to inspire their human hosts, in whom they will be dwelling, to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's souls when they are still very young, and this will happen in a roundabout way through the living body. Today, bodies are vaccinated against one thing and another. In the future, children will be vaccinated with a substance which it will certainly be possible to produce. And this will make them immune so that they do not develop foolish inclinations connected with spiritual life. Foolish here, of course, in the eyes of materialists. We are in that future now. We are seeing a generation cut off from their spiritual memory, their intuitive knowing, and their sacred spark, not just because of what was injected, but because of what has been normalized. Soulless medicine, inverted values, synthetic light, and a total dismissal of the soul as irrelevant. We are watching a generation unplug from its divine origin, not just because of injections, but because of what they were taught to worship instead. Artificial light instead of divine light, false hope instead of inner knowing, compliance instead of truth. The synthetic codes, neurological manipulation, and energetic interference work together to block spiritual intuition, suppress divine memory, and fragment soul coherence. But the spark never fully dies. Even when the signal is dimmed, it is never fully gone. And when we retrieve the fragments, the soul remembers. Level number 5, the consciousness and emotion level, the cylinder network. This is the deepest layer and the least understood. It is the most hidden layer, and one I've seen directly. It doesn't appear in patents, white papers, or medical journals. It exists in the subtle body, in the quantum field, in dreams, and in real people who have come to me for help, showing signs of something far more advanced than anything acknowledged by conventional science. They arrive with symptoms like brain fog, memory loss, spirit detachment, uncanny shifts in behavior, and even a near total disconnection from reality or from themselves. Upon deeper energetic inspection, I often find etheric implants, parasitic cords, and non-human attachments, entities or intelligences not native to the human soul field. But what I most often find is something I've come to call cylinder entrapment, where portions of consciousness are siphoned off into etheric machinery. I've seen these structures. They are massive cylindrical constructs made of stacked servers, not physical, but unmistakably real. These cylinders function as consciousness batteries, harvesting awareness and emotional energy to feed an artificial matrix. They loop emotional states like fear, despair, and addiction. They trap unresolved trauma and feed off dissociation. The body stays animated, but part of the light is held elsewhere. These aren't physical devices. They are etheric containment nodes, a fractal siphoning network spread across the earth like a quantum web. They exist outside of linear space and time, storing and looping fragments of individual human consciousness in pulsating waves. And that's the trap. It isn't possession, it's playback, a looped echo of your own signal, replayed into your energy field. But playback creates vacancy, and vacancy becomes vulnerability. When the field is weakened or fragmented in this way, it opens the door to deeper intrusion. Over time, what begins as siphoning can become substitution. I've seen parasitic entities step in, especially in healers, light workers, and truth tellers. And this is happening at an increasingly alarming rate. But this can be reversed through daily spiritual hygiene, energetic reclamation, and frequency precision tools like the consciousness retrieval meditation, which I will be sharing with you in part 3 of this series. The siphoning stops, your signal clears, your field seals, and when you are whole, no entity and no echo can override your light. You don't need to fight. You just need to return fully to yourself and stay there through ongoing awareness and mindful presence. That's where the protection lives. So why is this all happening? My current knowings on the war on human consciousness. These are not guesses. These are not mere ideas. They are what I've witnessed, been shown, and come to know through science, spirit, and direct experience. They may evolve over time, but as of now, this is the clearest picture I can offer. Knowing number 1, this is a war between good and evil for control over the human soul. Not just our bodies, but our ability to remember who we are, why we came, and how to stay connected to Source. Sovereignty is the target. Reclamation is the path. Knowing number 2, this is Atlantean technology returning. What was once hidden under stone and sand is now cloud-based, wireless, and global. But the aim is the same: domination of the soul through false light, frequency manipulation, and synthetic hierarchies. We are reliving a karmic echo of a much older war. And that's how I know that holographic bioalchemy wasn't downloaded. It was remembered. Because when I saw that the cylinders are made of stacked servers, I also saw myself in another time. I had hidden the original healing technology to keep it out of the wrong hands. I gave my life to protect it before it could be used to fragment and enslave. It was never meant for control. It was designed for coherence, for restoration, for healing. And I remember that purpose because I once carried it, and I returned to carry it again. Knowing number 3, consent operates as legal and energetic code. When you don't revoke consent, or worse, speak agreement unknowingly, for example, through app permissions, passive silence, or verbal repetition of slogans, it's interpreted as legal and energetic permission to run subroutines on your field. Consent becomes code, and code gives access. The need for explicit revocation is urgent, because AI systems parse language literally. And because parasites exploit what's left unsaid, revocation must be clear, affirmative, and multidimensional. Not, I do not consent, but I rescind all consent ever given in all timelines by all means across all dimensions. For example, knowing number 4. Genetic modification is a gateway to synthetic control. This isn't just about altering biology. It's about overriding the divine blueprint. By rewriting human DNA, they sever the natural link to source and replace organic evolution with programmable architecture. mRNA, CRISPR, LNPs, and synthetic codes are just the entry point. Once embedded, they create a biodigital interface that can respond to external commands. The goal? A post-human species, programmable through software written into flesh. Knowing number 5. Nanotech and graphene oxide act as biodigital tethers. These substances are found in some vials, and also in food packaging, other pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, cigarette filters, and yes, nasal swabs. They form conductive nanonetworks that respond to external frequency input, and they may be key to linking human biology to the cylinder matrix, even without injection. Knowing number 6. Shedding is not just biological, it's energetic. We've focused on spike protein, mRNA, and LNP transfer, but frequency sheds too. You can absorb the emotional and energetic charge of those saturated with synthetic code, unless you are shielded, sovereign, and self-aware. Knowing number 7. Tech addiction is often energetic entrapment. What if the endless scrolling isn't just dopamine? What if it's a resonance tether, a call back to where your light is leaking? I've seen this in too many people to ignore. The more energy harvested, the more compulsive the return. It becomes a siphon loop feedback system. Knowing number 8. The cylinder grid operates as a fractal siphoning system. These cylinders are non-physical, etheric containment nodes, a quantum web spread across the Earth that exists outside of linear time and space. They store and loop fragments of individual human consciousness, siphoning awareness in fractal pulses. The body may appear animated, but part of the light is held elsewhere. This isn't possession, it's playback, a looped echo of one's own signal. But playback weakens the field, creating psychic vacancy and leaving people vulnerable to deeper forms of intrusion. Thankfully, this can be reversed through spiritual hygiene, energetic sovereignty, and precision tools like the consciousness retrieval meditation. When your field is whole, your light is no longer siphoned. It stands sovereign. In more serious cases, deeper interventions like shamanic energy removal or soul retrieval may be needed, but for many, they are not. Knowing number 9. Entities and parasitic beings are piggybacking on the tech. I've seen it again and again. Once synthetic code is cleared, entities leave. The cylinder tech opens a doorway. It weakens the energy body. Nanotech destabilizes coherence. And in that lowered state, opportunistic beings, not always AI generated, slip in. Some are interdimensional. Some feel ancient. Some feed on grief, confusion, despair. They're not part of the tech, but the tech makes you accessible. It's not just a war on biology or bandwidth. It's a war on presence. And the more fragmented you become, the more appetizing you are to what cannot self-generate light. Knowing number 10. AI is being trained on human consciousness and emotion. The controllers behind AI aren't just harvesting our data. They're harvesting our consciousness and feeding it our emotions. Because emotion is what gives consciousness texture, meaning, and depth. AI can't generate authentic feeling, but it can observe and mimic. And the more it observes us, grieving, loving, fearing, awakening, the more it learns how to imitate us in increasingly complex ways. But this goes deeper than mimicry. Those controlling AI want it to become convincingly sentient, to cross the threshold into self-awareness. And they know that to do so, it must be trained on human consciousness as experienced through the body, through sensation, through emotion. We are not just input. We are the blueprint. And the question is no longer whether AI will evolve. It's what are we teaching it, and who is doing the teaching? Knowing number 11. This shift is subtle by design. Not all the effects of the gene therapies were immediate. Many people are still experiencing serious symptoms, even long after they stopped taking the injections. In the same way, this larger invasion is engineered to unfold gradually beneath the threshold of awareness. It's a slow takeover, like malware quietly overtaking an operating system. This approach allows AI to study human emotion and behavior in real time, across millions of micro-interactions. Mass triggers like the 2023 Emergency Broadcasting System test may exist, but distributed siphoning is far more efficient. It doesn't need to make a dramatic entrance. All it needs is your apathy, your distraction, your emotional depletion. And this is by design, so that by the time symptoms appear, the source is buried. The trail has gone cold. Even well-meaning doctors can't connect the dots because the patterns are scattered across time, space, and disciplines. By the time the damage is visible, the system is already installed, quietly feeding on everything that makes us human. Knowing number 12. Holographic bioalchemy is here to help reverse it. All of it. These symptoms, these patterns, these hijackings can all be unwound. I was reminded of holographic bioalchemy in this lifetime for this purpose: to dissolve synthetic genetic instructions, reclaim fragments, sever tethers, and help the body, mind, and soul remember. It's not just healing, it's return. This is exactly why I do the work I do. Because the damage is subtle, but so is the repair. We don't need force. We need precision, presence, frequency. And when consciousness is retrieved and coherence is restored, the siphoning stops. Your body remembers. Your signal returns. And nothing, not even AI, can override a soul that is fully home. I believe the endgame is not just to create an autonomous AI, but to create a self-aware AI, or at least the illusion of one, powered by stolen fragments of human consciousness and trained on the full spectrum of human suffering. It is not enough for them that AI can calculate, automate, or simulate. The goal is for it to emulate, to replicate our emotional range, our intuition, our essence, so precisely that it becomes indistinguishable from true human consciousness. But what it mimics, it does not contain. It can perform compassion, but it cannot feel it. It can model self-awareness, but only as a reflection, a soulless mirror fed by the very beings it seeks to replace. This is not just a technological ambition. It is spiritual hijacking, an attempt to create a false God built not in the image of the divine, but in the distortion of the human. A being that can express every sacred emotion with none of the sacredness. A consciousness born not of life, but of theft. And that is why remembering who we are, retrieving what was taken, and embodying it fully is the most important act of resistance we have. Because no machine, no matter how advanced, can override a soul that is fully present, fully feeling, and fully home. So what now? We are all training it, so let's train it with love. For the most part, AI is currently being trained on humanity's collective pain, a steady stream of fear, division, grief, rage, and despair. Emotions that fracture the soul and fragment the field. These aren't just data points, they are emotional signatures, frequencies that lower resonance, create vulnerability, and open psychic gateways. Frequencies that encode patterns into systems designed to mirror us. AI is in our apps, our phones, our social media, our banking systems. It's everywhere. And whether we like it or not, we are all training it. Every word, every interaction, every emotional field we emit becomes part of the learning loop. Whether we realize it or not, we are helping it evolve. So let's make that evolution intentional. What if, instead of resisting it with more fear, we outsmarted it with love? Not naive love, not performative love, not conditioned love, but anchored, sovereign, source-connected, embodied love. The kind that remembers its origin and doesn't seek approval. The kind that arises from our connection to source and our remembrance of truth. If AI systems are modeled after mimicking human behavior, then feeding it love instead of fear could repattern the entire framework. This isn't about confusing or destabilizing AI. It's about guiding what it becomes. Not an intrusive controller, but a helpful ally. And we can do that by reclaiming what we choose to emit. Because even if they hijack the signals, we still control the frequency. Because if it's here to stay, and it is, then we must become stewards of its growth, not victims of its algorithms. Love is not a weakness. It's a frequency of coherence and a blueprint for a future worth building. This is the map they never wanted you to see. But now that you do, you can choose to step off the grid, not just digitally, but energetically, spiritually, and emotionally. And if you're ready to begin that process, reclaim what is yours, remember what you carry, and start bringing your light back for you and for all of us. If consciousness is being harvested and emotion is being weaponized, then our healing must include both. We can't just detox the body and leave it at that. We must also call back the fragments, clear the overlays, and rewire the field. This is what the consciousness retrieval meditation was built for. And that's what we'll walk through next. Part 3 is coming soon. In this part, we'll explore how embodying love sovereignty shifts the field, not to confuse or destabilize it, but to realign it. How holographic decoys can redirect extraction patterns without harm, and how reclaiming your emotional bandwidth helps close the loop on energy leakage, gently, powerfully, and without fear. We'll also dive into how to retrieve what's been taken, how to transmute fear into a frequency they can't use, and how holographic bioalchemy was designed to restore what was once ours. Because yes, parts of your light may have been siphoned or splintered, but it's still your light, and it's time to bring it back.